grading the WrestleMania 41 match card. I'm Will, that's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers, talk about some wrestling.
Yeah, as we get closer and closer and closer, now what, a little bit more than a week away, people are comparing this year's Mania card to last year's Mania card. Some people were saying it doesn't hit the same. I think maybe we need to realize we didn't realize how good we had it last year.
No, I'm opposite. I like the card. We'll get into it, obviously, but yeah, we're a little bit more than a week out. A lot of matches are now scheduled. We have 10 overall. One that had to get rescinded might get redone. So let's get into it. But before we do, please like, subscribe, share the content. We need to be better about saying that kind of stuff. We love you all. Let's get to it. And speaking of the one that got rescinded, it's unfortunately because of Kevin Owens' injury. It happens. Sucks. It's unfortunate. Injury to the neck, it seems like. In interviews, he said he got injured in a normal-ass match. So it wasn't even the Alabama Slammer through the ladder or anything like that. I went ahead and did do a grade for it. I gave it an A. And I gave it an A just because I'm going to count those two high-profile guys. It would have been a big-time match card with months and months and months of story. I mean, this whole Kevin Owens heel turn started with him doing the power bomb, or not the power bomb, the power driver to Randy Orton. So it was a roundabout story there, full circle. And then, of course, the punt was going to be spectacular, which we still might get in some fashion. It might not be Kevin Owens taking it, but I went ahead and did give that an A.
Yeah, I guess I'm not too far off with that one. I gave this one a B+, so it's right there. I was really, really excited for it. One of the more anticipated ones, but just with the news coming down, I was like, dang, okay. And so that kind of puts a damper on it why I can't give it that full A grading. I'm sure the last couple of weeks too, teasing the punt going up to it, like right until Mania, just that build up as well. Would have been fantastic. Would have pushed it over the edge for me. But unfortunately, we don't get that.
It sucks. But we have 10 more matches so far. And looking at this card, or while I was writing them down to go over the grades, I was like, man, there are a lot of people who aren't on this card. A lot of multi-person matches, but still not people like Liv Morgan. No Chelsea Green on there. No Lyra Valkyria. And of course, we have a couple more episodes to get them on there, but we're not going to be talking about them because they ain't on there yet.
Yeah, I did put them on mine just in case we decided to go over them, but
I don't even know what they'd be in yet.
Well, let's see. The Liv stuff, F. The Chelsea stuff, F.
That's fair.
Just because we don't really have anything. Yeah. The War Raiders, a New Day, I put it as a D- because at least you've seen something. It's not good, but you've seen something. And like kind of the SmackDown chaos scene thing, that's not really a clear picture yet. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So I gave that just a straight D.
Anyway, we'll get to the actual matches that are listed at the moment on WWE.com. If you go to their WrestleMania page, number one, the one that got added on Monday Night Raw this week, Rey Mysterio and El Grande Americano. The story here has been this lucha legend coming back from, seemingly nowhere, out of nowhere. This legend is returned, and he now is signed with WWE, and he's aligned himself with the American Made and Chad Gable, who has been sick for a while. But what would you give WWE's grade on this Rey Mysterio El Grande feud and match for WrestleMania?
Yeah, I gave this one just a C, just right in the middle. Everything that I'm giving this has been all El Grande Americano. I think he's doing some fantastic work. The few weeks we've gotten to see from him. Rey Mysterio really hasn't done anything. The deadbeat, being the deadbeat in this feud, I guess, hasn't really held up his end of the bargain here so far. So I'm going right in the middle. I think El Grande has done some really good stuff. People continue to keep saying it's Chad Gable, but that doesn't really make any sense. Chad Gable is sick.
Yeah.
So El Grande has shown in the ring that he's fantastic. He shows why he is a lucha legend. So let's just have him showcase that against Rey at WrestleMania.
I think I'm going to be the more positive one throughout this episode with my grades, but I'm going to be negative here. I gave this a D, and it's kind of unfair because I am adding in my kind of mad sentiment that I have toward the people who aren't on the card yet into this. Because when they announced this on Monday, I was like, really? Out of all the people that need matches still, this is the match that you're booking. Like, we already have a graphic and everything up for this one, huh? So, it's going to be fine. Rey Mysterio is in that, upper echelon with Randy Orton and John Cena, where it's like, we don't know how many more they're going to have, so we should probably have him on the card, right? It's going to be good to see him. And the El Grande stuff has been funny, and it's going to be a good match. Like, they're going to put on a show, but at the same time, I'm just not. It's a comedy act to me. Mm-hmm. And at the moment, I'm just, I'm not sold on it being a WrestleMania match. I'll give it a D.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is, like, they always seem to have stuff like this.
Yeah.
So it kind of fits WrestleMania because there's always something like this. But it does take a little bit of the sting or something. You're like, what about all these people? So I can understand.
Well, moving on. AJ Styles, Logan Paul. Everybody was worried when Elimination Chamber time was coming around about what Logan Paul was going to be doing, because he was kind of aligning himself with people like CM Punk and Seth Rollins and that sort of thing. And people were like, oh no, let's not do a WrestleMania match for Logan Paul and that type of, with those type of people. Now we've gotten something with this AJ Styles Logan Paul feud. What would you grade it?
Yeah, I'm giving a straight D on this one. I'm giving it a below average. I guess it's still passable, right? So this one is one of those ones that is your mandatory. Let's get a really great wrestler in the ring with Logan Paul, and let's just have him go out there and have a good match. Now, they had a couple segments back and forth since they kind of announced it. The promo that they cut where they were both trying to go at each other in the ring, but then the crowd was involved and then they didn't really know how to navigate it, kind of fell flat for me. And then kind of ever since then, we haven't really seen a whole lot. I'm assuming we get a Logan interference in AJ's match on Monday. That'd be really cool to see, I guess. But for me, not really something I'm excited to see in terms of feuds, and they haven't really done anything to change my opinion. So, yeah,
all your sentiment is 100% right. That's exactly how I feel about it. I was a little bit more lenient with it. I'm going to give it a C because I am looking forward to this match's in-ring quality that it will be. I do think that, when I say this, people always kind of are like, what are you talking about? But I think it could be a WrestleMania steal the show match. Like, it really can. They normally seem to give Logan Paul the time to prepare, to where whenever he does show up in these big time matches, he shows out. And then, AJ Styles could have a good match with you and me, and we don't even know what the hell we're doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna say I'm looking forward to the actual match. Now, the feud itself has been ass, but that's enough for me to be like, okay, it's a C. It passes. I'm glad it's there, I guess. I'm glad Logan Paul is not doing something more important.
Yeah, and kind of how I ranked mine, or graded mine, I should say, was I graded mine specifically on just the build.
Just the feud, just the build.
Yeah. And then if you look at the match itself, like, it's going to be a little bit more positive, so I understand how that kind of comes into play.
I added my expectations for the match. It's mostly the feud in my grade, but at the end, I'm like, okay, but what do I foresee the match being like? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Moving on to another one that got announced. Jade, Cargill, Naomi, their match is now officially on the WrestleMania card. This one has been good, I would say. This has been a very good turn for Naomi. Jade's looking real nice. What would you grade this match on the WrestleMania card?
Yeah, I'm giving this one an A. I think on the women's side especially, this is the best story. You could argue it's the best story going into Mania, just period. The best feud going in. Naomi is doing the best work of her career. Jade is got the babyface return. Everybody's excited to see how good Jade is and can be. And the Naomi stuff, it's one of those things that, like, you have always kind of said, like, hey, what about Naomi being heel? Or what about this person being heel? And it's like, oh, they'll never do that. And then Naomi is heel, and you're like, well, damn, she's really, really good at this. So this is fantastic. To me, this is like I said, in terms of storyline, in terms of like excitement level, like this is maybe the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I went ahead and just flat out gave this an A+, and that might be a little bit too nice to it because we haven't really seen that much. Like, they haven't gotten their John Cena, Cody Rhodes moment in the ring, big promo segment or whatever. But I think Naomi's heel turn has been done to perfection. I think that her character right now is the most interested I've ever been in Naomi. And Jade has obviously done her part. She's looked great in every little instance she's been involved with Naomi so far. SmackDown last week was kind of like an ass segment, but I'm invested in this 100% of the way. And it was a feud that kind of snuck up on me. Like, I really wasn't expecting it to hit that hard and be so good going into Mania. I definitely thought they were going to push that out to Backlash or something. But now that it's here, now that we've seen it, I'm like, hell yeah, I can't wait for this match. And I'm really interested to see who they have winning too. I think the match will be great. Hell yeah. I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you talk about it a little bit sneaking up on you. I mean, it's crazy the levels to it all, I guess. And you see the amount of effort they've put into this, and then you look at some other stuff and you're like, why can't you do this level of effort with other things?
Yeah,
But
it's incredible.
I digress.
Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens is supposed to be next, but we'll move it on to the first title match that's on our list. We do have the United States title. Jacob Fatu is taking on LA Knight in singles action at the moment. There could be an asterisk there down the line, but what are we grading this match on? I'll go ahead and take it first because I've made you go first every time. I gave this a C+, and I said I need Solo in here for me to care about this feud. I really do. I think that this United States title match has been built off the back of like Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman, which has been weird. I'm glad they gave the belt back to LA Knight, but he's kind of done nothing since taking the belt. So I don't have any real reason to care about this exact feud between these two guys because they've barely interacted with each other, right? So there's no story there. The main story is Solo Fatu. Are they, will they, won't they, basically at the moment. So in order for me to push this above what I gave it a C+, I'm going to need Solo to be thrown in there in the next week or so.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that. I just did a flat C. So for this, it's kind of the same sentiment. Solo and Fatu was the Mania match for them that I was really excited to get, but we obviously haven't gotten there yet. There's seeds planted here. I assume Solo is not into the match. My guess is going to be he accompanies Jacob to the ring. You have both of these guys. You have LA Knight and you have Jacob Fatu. Both are so over. So it's like, who do you give the loss to? Well, I think you get some Solo screwiness, and that's how you get LA to retain, cost Jacob. You can run Solo and Jacob at Backlash, which sign me up. We're going to be there. That sounds awesome. But in terms of just the U.S. title, like it feels like there should be something bigger for the title specifically.
Yeah, I completely agree. It does feel like LA Knight's just kind of like, oh yeah, he's in the match now. Like that's how it feels. Well, I mean, we need LA Knight on the card, right? We're gonna move it right on though. Intercontinental title match. These are your mid-card titles, the only ones on the card right now. Let's point that out. We don't have an Intercontinental Women's title match or a U.S. title women's title match with Chelsea Green. Neither of them on the card right now. Keep saying that. We need to do something here in the next week, WWE. But Intercontinental title match, Braun versus Penta versus Dom versus Finn Balor. What would you grade this WrestleMania 41 match?
Yeah, and before I get into that one, you talk about those women's mid-card titles not having anything. That's why I gave them Fs, because they literally have nothing. It's not of their fault. It's just like, what are we doing here? This one, talk about feuds that kind of sneak up on you. Like, this is one of those as well. You kind of thought about it originally, or at least earlier in the year, like, man, there's going to be a lot of like multi-person matches. There's going to be a lot of triple threats or fatal four-ways or multiple. And you got to get everybody on the card, or you got to get most people on the card. I gave this one a B. So kind of the sentiments we said about LA Knight, I kind of feel the same way about Braun Breaker. Now, Braun is a little bit more intertwined in the story, and so is Penta, because Judgment Day's kind of been after both of them, and they've had matches and tag matches, and I get all that. But the story here is Dom and Finn, and that's really the exciting part, especially the hopes that Dom can finally get a WrestleMania win here, and he can finally hold some singles gold on the main roster. That's the real hope here. That's really all I'm excited for. You can have the Judgment Day breakup and stuff there, but it does feel weird that the IC champion is not kind of in a more head-to-head feud. You know what I mean?
Yep. I completely agree. And you're right. The sentiment stands with how I feel about Braun Breaker not being a focal point of this feud. He really is kind of just like the champion in this feud, that, he's at the top of the mountain, and then all the interesting pieces are climbing the mountain and trying to get there. But the thing is, Dom and Finn's story is so good to me. I really, really like it. I'm really getting my hopes up for Dom Mysterio winning. I did give this an A, mostly for that reason, and everybody involved here is freaking awesome. And I'd be pissed if they weren't in a match, and if they weren't in this match, they probably wouldn't have made the card. So it's one of those things where WWE was kind of backed into a corner, I think, with some of these guys. They were like, screw it, let's just throw it in there together and see what happens. And so far on TV, it's been spectacular. I love every interaction they all have with each other. Braun Breaker spearing Carlito in half, Penta and Dom putting on a show. Obviously, you got Finn Balor being mean old Finn. I love it. This is probably my most anticipated match. That's not, further down the line, but like in terms of mid-card matches, this is what I'm looking forward to the most at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm trying to temper my expectations, so I gave it a B because I don't want to be disappointed if Dom doesn't win. So I was like, I'll just give it a B because I don't want to be let down so hard,
Women's WWE title. Man, this is the talk of the town over the last week, ever since their promo thing that happened, the personal jabs that they were both trying to take at each other. It was a pissy fit on TV, in my opinion. Women's WWE title match, Tiffany Stratton taking on Charlotte Flair. What would you give this match grade for WrestleMania?
Yeah, so when I talk about being a little bit harder on things, I was very excited for this one. I had I guess like a thought to myself, like this could be one of the next great feuds. Like this is the next generation and all this stuff, as probably most people did. And then everything just kind of failed to execute. And I feel like every chance they've gotten has been a wrong turn. And it's like, hey, you can make up for that. And they're just like, no. And it keeps getting worse. And I'm like, oh, dear God. To where at this point, I know the match is going to be fantastic. I know they're both going to be phenomenal. But the buildup has been really, really messy for me. It's been almost as if like, I don't want to see it on screen at times. Like I'd rather just not. So I just went with a D with this one. I went pretty low with it. It's a little bit better than like the AJ Logan stuff, obviously, but the personal jabs are cool and things, but it just got so messy and I just don't really want to see it at this point. Is kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of over it. I hope Tiffany retains. I'm sure the match is going to be good and we can kind of just push that to the side. And we can move on after this.
I give it a B- for this is, all year I wanted this feud. Like this was the feud that I wanted. Like the entire year, you can go back to the start of our podcast. I was like, man, I can't wait for Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. That's going to be great whenever they decide to do this. And I'm more up on Charlotte Flair than I think the general crowd is now in the WWE. They seem to hate her at times. I still think that Charlotte's one of the GOATs. And then I think Tiffany has everything. I just think that they need to cut her a little bit more loose in her promos, but also get her to do actual kayfabe promos, not like last week where she was just doing personal attacks because that's cheap. But that being said, I've looked forward to this for so long that now I'm getting it. And so I'm so excited about the match, and I'm so excited for what it means for the women's division looking forward. If they do decide to pull the trigger and give it to Tiffany Stratton, I do think that could do wonders for the women's division on SmackDown for the future. Yes, the promos have been bad, but it's also, you can look at it like, well, Charlotte has been cutting it up. Last week's promo gone, right? Forget about that. All the month and a half before that, Charlotte was doing some really good work, in my opinion. I thought she was reminding all of us why she is considered one of the GOATs. So I do like that aspect of it. I really liked their little back and forth they had a few weeks ago on SmackDown where Tiffany was diving off the set, stuff like that. So I like each of them individually so much, and they've given me just enough to care that I'm going to be like, okay, I'm giving you a B-, C+ around that range.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You could look at it and you could say that Charlotte was reminding people, but then you can see the flip side of it and people are like, well, Charlotte's doing what she always does and she's just burying people. So I think it really just kind of depends. For me, I think this feud, especially for the Charlotte side of things, like I was on that boat, on that train of like, man, Charlotte is fantastic. She's great. And this one, I've started to see the cracks a little bit. There's that stuff. There's also, she's struggling with the crowd reaction as well sometimes, which is kind of weird to see. And I know she's going through some stuff, so we'll cut her some slack, give her a little bit of a break. But it's one of those things that I think I had this built up so much in my head, like how amazing and fantastic it was going to be. And it's just kind of let me down. I'm like, oh boy, okay.
I'm with you. I mean, I could, there are definitely cracks, and her reaction to the crowd last week on SmackDown, I was flabbergasted with it. I was like, really? You're struggling this much? Like, she just completely fell apart. And then, of course, the added personal jabs, like it was the perfect concoction to just melt her away. And that was shocking. Just a side tangent here that I want to ask, considering we're getting here. Now that we're a week out from WrestleMania, now that we've seen the feuds, in hindsight, did WWE make the correct decisions in having Charlotte and Jay win the Royal Rumble matches?
I think Jay is the right call. And I think that that's perfect the way they did that. I would have had somebody else win the Women's Royal Rumble. I don't know who. I mean, it could have been Alexa, it could have been Liv. Those are two names right off the top of my head that I would rather have. Hell, I'd even rather have Bianca win it, and then you can change the chamber winner. I don't care. To me, the Charlotte coming back and winning, and then just the feud just isn't really meshing too well. You also have the women's triple threat, which we'll get to here in a minute. That also kind of is not meshing as well as I think WWE probably could have done. So I think Jay is the correct winner. I really like that stuff that we'll get to, but I would rather have somebody else win for the women.
Hindsight's easy to look at. You know, we've seen a month and a half of feuds, and now we can be like, oh, idiots, WWE for doing this, or, oh, good job, right? I think that they nailed it on Jay. I really do, because I think that what happened at Elimination Chamber stands for itself. It's historic and has been great ever since. But I'm with you for the women. I don't think Charlotte was the right choice here. I don't think that I don't think Tiffany was ready for that moment. I think that you should have had an established person. Like, if you wanted Bianca in the main event, have her win it right away. And then we could have just done that for a couple months. And maybe that could have made the Rhea entry into the story make more sense, and sort of, you know, when you had a longer amount of time. And then you could have had Charlotte test the water with Tiff maybe a couple times, and then given her Elimination Chamber and moved on from there. And I think if you would have seen what Charlotte and Tiffany, how they interacted for like the month in between Rumble and Chamber, you maybe would have pivoted away from that and chosen a better opponent for Tiffany going into WrestleMania. But, you know, I thought Jay was the right decision, so Yeet Mania it is.
Yeah, and I think one last point that I'm just kind of thinking of off the top of my head, I think it would have been nice maybe you give it to like Nia Jax, and then Nia chooses Tiffany, and you just kind of build that back, because she had the cash in and she never.
That's true.
I mean, she got the cash in and then she never really had anything, but you give something credible here. Now you could say that's a waste of a spot as well. But it is weird for somebody like a Nia Jax, who had a dominant spot that eliminated like 7 women from the Rumble, and then she's just never really seen again.
Yeah, she's not even gonna be on the Mania card.
Yeah. So something like that's weird. The history there would have been nice to kind of maybe build off of. And I feel like you wouldn't have had to do as much. You already had the history, the backing of it. You could have just kind of, for lack of a better term, like slowly, gradually let Tiffany kind of go into that build.
I completely agree. Side tangent done. Let's get back to grades. Men's World Heavyweight Championship match. Gunther taking on Jey Uso.
Mm-hmm.
What would you give this grade of this rivalry, of this WrestleMania match?
Yeah, I'm giving this one an A. Which, thinking about it, is kind of, I would say, weird in a sense, because I wasn't a fan of the I'm the underdog, nobody believes in me. I was like, well, you just had the IC title. Well, you just won the Rumble. Like, people do believe in you. And then you had the weird botch storyline for a couple of weeks. Not really that good either. But since then, all that work that they've done since then has been so good that I'm like, yeah, you know what? This is fantastic. This is great stuff. Gunther showing how great of a heel he can be. The Jimmy intro into the story, even though we were kind of big Jim fans on his own. I hope he does his own stuff. This was perfect. This was just the perfect kind of meshing and mixing to a fantastic feud that you give people a reason to root for Jay if they weren't already on that train.
Yeah, this was a 0 to 100 real quick for me. I went from a C to an A in about a 2-week span. It was very much a no-go for me for a long time, with the, you know, botches, like you said, and with the, you know, I am the underdog and all this stuff. No. I didn't want to see any of that. I didn't want to see 2 months of Jay coming out, yeeting every single week, getting the crowd involved. Like, I was kind of over it. And so I was at like a C, C minus D in that aspect. And then recently, the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, bang, they did it. Sold me. The Gunther segment, I thought, has been probably the best segment on the build of WrestleMania this year so far by a mile, with the Jimmy attack. It was absolutely incredible. And then you get Jey Uso this week coming out, being nice and, you know, serious. He's pissed off, getting Gunther a little bit scared on the edge too. We're going into WrestleMania at this strongest point, and now I'm ready for Yeet Mania. Like, I can't wait for that pop. They've sold me. I got an A for it.
Yeah, Gunther really did his job. And then, like you said, I think last week or this past week was really important. Like, how does Jay react? Because if Jay just came out and yeeted, you would have been like, well, doesn't hit the same. But with Jay being that more serious tone, you actually get a little bit of that like bloodline serious Jay to him. Fantastic.
Yeah, you wrote one down here.
Mm-hmm.
That I just went on WWE.com, WrestleMania.
It's not official yet, but it's kind of official.
It's not official yet, but we're going to do it. Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest. This was a mid-card match that a lot of people were kind of like, really, they need to do more with this. But we have gotten some good weeks here. What would you grade this feud WrestleMania match?
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a B.
Yeah.
I think this one has exceeded my expectations. So for something like a Charlotte Tiffany, where I was really excited and that's kind of let me down and not really met the expectations that I had, and maybe my expectations were too high. Inversely, this one, I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations for this one. I was like, okay. I mean, yeah, I like Drew. I like Damian. They're both cool. They can both cut some promo stuff. And then they started to kind of work together, and you're like, okay, now there's backing to the story. There's history. And then they go in like, oh, you cost me here. You cost me here. Well, no, I didn't do any of that at all. That's your personal vendetta stuff. And then like you get the really cool thing where Damian destroys the car owner and then he slams Drew. And then you got Drew with the eye patch. I mean, this one's just fun. I really enjoy this one. Exceeded my expectations on this one for sure.
I think the max that this feud could have gotten from me is probably like a B plus. I think right now it's probably sitting at like a C plus, but I think that this is going to be one of the feuds we definitely see in the next 2 weeks on SmackDown, taking it to another level. Of course, Drew McIntyre's got to get his revenge for the attack that Damian Priest gave him. He's going to have the eye patch. It's going to be great. So right now I would say I'm sitting at a C plus for it. Very much looking forward to it still. Easily a match that I'm probably going to like a ton because these guys, that's my type of wrestling. I like how they work. So I can't wait for that. But eye patch Drew, Damian Priest, it's going to be absolutely great. At the moment though, I need one more step. I need one more page in the story, one more chapter. And then I'll be on the B plus B.
Yeah, that's fair.
Train. Let's move it on though to the three big ones, I would say. And I know I left Gunther and Jay out of the big ones conversation, but I think these are the ones that, most of the eyeballs are on going into this WrestleMania. We'll start with the women here. We have the Women's World Heavyweight Championship match. Man, this one has been a twist and turns of illogical roads to get here, but we are officially here. Rhea is inserted into the match. It's Rhea, Bianca, Io title match. What would you grade it?
Yeah, and I think it's very important to note here again, this is not the match quality, because I think the match quality of this, I think it's going to be an A. For this one, how excited I am, the feud, the building of it, we want a C minus. So going a little bit tough on it, I guess, but these three women involved, I would have thought there would have been a logical way to get here. I would have liked Rhea to kind of show some cracks a little bit that weren't shown. I understand Io is supposed to be the one that's overlooked, and they're supposed to continue to overlook Io and doubt Io, and I get that's that, but up until this week where she hits the springboard missile dropkick, you really don't get anything from her. You've got the crowd booing Bianca at this point now, which seems kind of random. I don't know why that's the case, because Bianca's done nothing but talk truce to everything. Now, that could potentially play into the Bianca Naomi attack Jade thing, and that would be fantastic if that goes that way. But just on the surface level, you think about it, and it's like, why the hell are they booing Bianca? All she's doing is saying, hey, Rhea shouldn't headbutt her way into stuff. So I do like the way that they kind of wrap the bow on it with Adam Pearce saying, hey, I messed up. But that also doesn't erase all of it as well. So I'm going to C minus on this one. Something I was really excited for. The triple threat's going to be fantastic. But just a kind of like the Tiffany Charlotte one, it's just been messy.
Yeah, I mean, if I was grading if I was predicting the grade that I was going to give the triple threat match when it happens, I'm going to be like, oh, they're probably going to put on an AA plus performance. It's going to be phenomenal. If you told me to grade each and every one of them separately, AAA. I love every one of them, Bianca, Rhea, and Io. If you want me to grade the storyline, the feud, it's been bad. It's a C. I gave this overall a C. I am somebody that, we have a podcast about wrestling, right? So we looked into the storylines more than just your average viewer, I would say, right? We need the logic to be there. This was completely illogical the entire way out. It felt like there was no real reason to give Io the belt to begin with if you were going to put Rhea back in there. We all thought Rhea was going to win that initial championship match, but have some sort of shenanigans happen to where it's obvious Io should have gotten another chance, right? But that didn't happen. And so the second they took the belt off her, things got muddy, and then the Bianca stuff happened, and then you had the Io Rhea rematch that also was muddy. It felt like they just kept digging themselves into a hole, and then they eventually just had to say, yeah, we're doing this, everybody. And so, that's not a feud that I necessarily like. I can't give it ups there. So it's a C for me.
Yeah. And I think that's understandable. I would say that depending on who you ask, like I think everybody would kind of agree, like the triple threat made it really complicated.
Yep.
And it didn't need to be complicated, but that's what they decided to do. So
yeah, it's gonna be a phenomenal match. We're not hating on it.
yeah, might be match of the weekend. I mean, it's gonna be damn good.
A lot of winners. You know, we'll talk about that in our predictions, but man, that's gonna be tough to call. Then our two main events were finally here. We're gonna do our night one, night two. Night one main event. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and you can just throw Paul Heyman in there because he's a huge part of this feud at the moment. What would you grade it?
Yeah, I'm going A on this one. I think this one's fantastic. I think these three, initially, I should say, when I had heard about the idea of the triple threat, and you're like, triple threat? Like, we can't just get Rollins versus Roman, or we can't just get Punk versus Roman, or we can't, why we got to do a triple threat? And then it all goes back to, well, we got to put people on the card, just kind of throw them together. But this one has been fantastic. This has been cinema every time any one of them is on the screen. You get a combination of Rollins, Punk, Roman, Rollins. Like you said, Paul as well. Now you got Paul and Seth the favor and CM Punk, but is that the favor? But not really the favor. Roman's losing it. He's turning on Paul, it seems like, a little bit. I could go on about this match forever. This has been fantastic stuff. There's a reason it is night one main event. And you look at these three guys and you're like, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, this is an A+ for me. And if you looked at it a few months ago, people were like, there's no way that CM Punk should be inserted into the Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins stuff. It doesn't make any sense. Well, they've made it make complete sense. And then there's another crowd saying, well, there's no way that a Royal Rumble winner shouldn't main event any night of WrestleMania. Well, then you've watched this story unfold for a few weeks and you're like, yep, that's main event worthy. That's main event caliber. They're not fighting for anything, yet we care more about this more than anything else. And it's spectacular. I mean, like you said, every time any of them are on the screen, it's absolute cinema. When they step foot in the ring, you know you're getting something. There is a story, like a story point happening. There's no wasted space. There's no wasted time with these three during this feud. And that's just great TV. That's just great feuding. I can't wait for the match. I think it's going to be probably the most cinematic match of the weekend with big future implications. Like one of them may walk away with Paul Heyman while the others don't. And that's big stuff there. So it's an A+ for me.
Yeah, I think this one, like you said, is going to be both of the main events. I think are going to be pretty cinematic as a whole. I think they're not just going to be like, oh, hey, this person beats this person and that's that. So they're going to be a little bit more cinematic, but that's okay. We even talked a little bit about the favor possibly being a little bit like disappointing to some people potentially. While that may be the case, like these three are going to make it work. Oh, they've made it work so far.
And the favor now, they're going to play the dumb. Everybody has a favor, right? Well, he's the wise man, the one guy, and the other two have favors. I know people have complained about the way Seth Rollins got his. It's wrestling. It's wrestling logic there. He owes him a favor now. He didn't
stomp your head in, favor.
Main event of main events of main events. John Cena's final main event in WrestleMania history here. It's John Cena taking on Cody Rhodes. What would you grade the feud and match?
Yeah, I'm giving this one an A. I didn't go A+ for any of these, so that's the highest I can give it. Is what it is. I mean, what more can you say? It's John's last WrestleMania, and for a long time we were like, who should he face? Should it be Randy? Should it be a up-and-comer like Carmelo? Should it be CM Punk? Well, what if he does babyface versus babyface and it's Cody Rhodes, and then you get the insert of The Rock and Cena heel turns and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So it's your childhood hero versus my guy in the current WWE stuff, somebody I've been a fan of for a long time. It just writes itself. You talk about the promos they had. How would they respond kind of overseas? How would that go? Are they going to cheer Cena? Well, they booed Cena, and then Cena made everybody hate him even more, even taking it out on the kids. And Cody's that guy you can kind of all rally behind to stop the evil John Cena. I mean, this is just good stuff. Like you said, cinema here as well. Probably an appearance somehow by The Rock, even though that kind of hasn't really been addressed yet fully. But it's night 2, WrestleMania. It's John Cena and it's Cody Rhodes. I mean, this is good stuff.
Yeah, it's an A+, and I know I'm biased. I don't care. It would have been an A+ to me if all we got was the John Cena heel turn Elimination Chamber and then he didn't show up till his music hits at WrestleMania. I still would have been like, hell yeah, we got a John Cena heel turn. I'm tuning into WrestleMania. He's main eventing WrestleMania as a heel against Cody Rhodes. yep, you got me sold. I don't even care what else is on the card. That's how I feel about it. But it's been phenomenal ever since. I think they've cut some of the best promo segments of the past year in wrestling. Like, I really thought that their last one when they were face to face was really good stuff. They sold me on it. And some people bitch and moan and say that they need him on TV more and blah, blah, blah. Well, John Cena made that part of his heel character. That's literally part of what he says. He's like, well, what do we get? What do we get? Like, he is so smart with this stuff that he can foresee what everybody's going to say about him turning heel and just spin it into his character arc while being heel. And it's just the perfect stuff. And if you want to look deeper into this, it really is. I mean, it's the poster boy of WWE for the past 20 years, taking on the guy who basically helped carry and build the brand new competitor to WWE, right? It's a very full circle moment there as well. So it's just, no matter how you look at it, I'm so excited for the main event.
Yeah, and like you said, it's kind of the poster boy the last 20 years versus like the new poster boy that they're trying to.
Yeah, that too.
He wants to be the new era John Cena. You know what I mean? So it's just really good stuff. And John is fantastic on the mic. And how would Cody hold up? And then Cody held his own. So it's like, yeah, this is really good stuff. I wouldn't hate it if we got it multiple times. Obviously, it's just going to be a one-off because it's Cena's last year. But like, it's been so good that I'm just like, damn.
It's been good. It's been absolutely good. Well, I mean, our grades were very similar. I would say you are slightly rougher than I was, but not by much. Overall, it's going to be a great match card. The match quality is going to be incredible. Yeah,
and I'd say the builds or the feuds going in, it's probably like a B-, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's not super, super hype. I think the good ones, obviously the top tier ones are phenomenal. And then you've got some that you have completely just dropped the ball on or haven't even tried. So you're kind of right in that middle ground.
I think they're nailing the feuds that they need to nail at the end of the day. Like your main events are sold. And then, you have your mid-card, your main mid-card title, the IC title sold. So I think they're selling the ones that they really need to sell on. You have enough mid-cards that people are going to care about. Jade and Naomi sold. So hopefully the others can just carry themselves in the ring, and then we round out a good WrestleMania. But anyway, speaking of WrestleMania, we'll be live streaming it just like we do everything else on youtube.com/@CODWrestlePod. We do Raw, SmackDown, and WrestleMania. And this WrestleMania, we will be doing a championship belt raffle. We will have a title that you can put some money in toward and see if you can win it. So be there for that. And then for everything else, @CODWrestlePod, COD WrestlePod, we have a link tree in our bio. It's got all of our socials there, YouTube, and all podcasts where you can listen to it. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. We will see you next time.